na 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 na. Boy, Dr. Rod, turn it up for Grenada. Yeah, my land that you celebrate 50. Some call you a little baby. Others say you Johnny come lately. Oh yo, but they don't know about your history. All the things you have been through was too much for you. Yet you had resilience to stand them. Revolution, intervention and coup. Yet you produce some beautiful children. This is the land that has famous people like Junior Murray. This is the land Anderson Peters and Champion Kirani. Land of my birth. Let's celebrate 50. We cannot let off my birth. Let's celebrate 50. It would be great. This is the land we produce people like the mighty sparrow. This is the land Randy Isaac Becky with Zeda Jamo. Land of my birth. Let's celebrate 50. We cannot let off my birth. Let's celebrate 50. It would be great. We don't talk much about your troubles. No, no. You have been through many struggles. That's true. Yet you rose up from the rubbles. Yeah, yeah. Proving resilience as a people. Storms and hurricane, yet you came back again. Even COVID-19 couldn't stop you. So much destructive human try to destroy this island. Yet we're standing strong as a nation. This is the land, let's remember the godfather of this country. This is the land, the right honorable Eric Matthew Gary. Land of my birth. Let's celebrate 50, we cannot let off my birth. Let's celebrate 50, it will be great. This is the land, yeah, Mary Shokit, Mitchell and Deacon. This is the land, some strong leaders that come from this island. Land of my birth. Let's celebrate 50, we cannot let off my birth. Let's celebrate 50, it would be great. Big celebration for my little island. Let's celebrate, oh, let us celebrate. Big celebration for my little island. Let's celebrate, whoa, whoa, let us celebrate. Let's celebrate 50, we made it to half a century. Let's celebrate, whoa, whoa, come, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate 50, we made it to half a century. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. Whoa. This is the land we have got Felix and Jennifer hosting. This is the land Maurice Bishop, Howard Blaze and George Grison. Land of my birth. Let's celebrate 50. We cannot let off my birth. Let's celebrate 50. It will be great. This is the land we have Killer Boys, it all free and squeezy. This is the land Dash Terra Thunder and Little Natty. Land of my birth. Mr. Lake, King Scholar, Teacher Eddie. Land of my birth, Valinette and Lady Simpty. Land of my birth, Lava Man, who live back and electrify. Land of my birth, whoa, 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 whoa. Land of my birth, I just cannot mention everybody. Land of my birth, all Grenadians just sing this song with me. Land of my birth, land of my birth, land of my birth. Land of my birth. Land of my birth.
Mommy! Whoa! Pa-pa-da-pa-da-pa-da. We celebrating 50 years as an independent nation. Such an occasion call for a big celebration. It is when Grenadians show their patriotism. Independence not the time for no damn confusion. If you think I go come here to embarrass the government or talk about police how they handle crime and accident, you know I prefer to sing about something nice and dandy. Independence not the time for no damn controversy. I could have said how the country fall down flat. Now it's not the time for that. No Grenadian living like dog and cat. Now it's not the time for that. How certain people riding plane like bus. Now it's not the time for that. Why the hell they have put Grenada first? Now it's not the time for that. I'd rather sing something to make everybody happy. Cause we celebrating a milestone 50. So let we sing, we back on we feet again. In spite of all the challenges, we back on we feet again. Breaking barriers, building up bridges. If we only unite as one, we could build a stronger nation. So let we sing songs of unification. Whoa. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Carnival is the time for bacchanal when you make all your scandal. And in your Christmas song you could call people name in parang. But if you have any sense of patriotic dignity, beyond your best behavior on 7 February 1974 to 2024, a bittersweet journey. There isn't a better time to reflect on your history. No, it's not the time to sing about parties and politics. I find me nice Grenada does be getting too much lit. I could have sing about the houses in current. Now it's not the time for that. And the wet they making in parliament. Now it's not the time for that. About to hide in their sexuality. Now it's not the time for that. About to hungry mouth and beggy. Now it's not the time for that. I'd rather sing something to make our Grenadians happy. Cause we celebrating. Mommy! Whoa. Pa-pa-da-pa-da-pa-da. We celebrating 50 years as an independent nation. Such an occasion called for a big celebration. It is when Grenadians show their patriotism. Independence not the time for no damn confusion. If you think I go come here to embarrass the government or talk about police how they handle crime and accident, you know I prefer to sing about something nice and dandy. Independence not the time for no damn controversy. I could have said how the country fall down flat. Now it's not the time for that. No Grenadian living like dog and cat. Now it's not the time for that. How certain people riding plane like bus. Now it's not the time for that. Why the hell they have put Grenada first? Now it's not the time for that. I'd rather sing something to make everybody happy. Cause we celebrating a milestone 50. So let we sing, we back on we feet again. In spite of all the challenges, we back on we feet again. Breaking barriers, building up bridges. If we only unite as one, we could build a stronger nation. So let we sing songs of unification. Whoa. Pa-pa-da-pa-da-pa-da. Carnival is the time for bacchanal when you make all your scandal. And in your Christmas song you could call people name in parang. But if you have any sense of patriotic dignity, beyond your best behavior 74 to 2024, a bittersweet journey. There isn't a better time to reflect on your history. No, it's not the time to sing about parties and politics. I find me.
And a good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name's Sheldon Scott. I will be with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. Not too sure what's going on with my headphones tonight, yeah. Something is not working how it's supposed to work tonight, yeah.
So let we sing, we back on we feet again. We're moving stronger together, back on we feet again. Securing a prosperous future, we only unite as one.
Yeah, something just isn't working properly for me tonight.
Songs of unification. Grenada is the only place that I wanna live forever. ask them to bury me right here. I can't be like the ones who might have in it and eat it. You have nothing good to say, so just shut up your toilet. If I come and say something contrary, you might run me up.
Yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
You think to put Grenada on the front page. As a certain man, I would like to leave a legacy and be remembered as someone who big up the country.
Talking Points is on.
It's not free. Now it's not the time for that. What you posing by a marijuana tree. Now it's not the time for that. I see them criminals and them getting bail. Now it's not the time for that. None of the politicians and making jail. Now it's not the time for that. But I sing something to make everybody happy. Cause we celebrated a milestone 50. So let me sing, let me sing, let me sing. Back on the feet again. In spite of all the challenges. Back on the feet again. Breaking barriers, building up bridges. Only unite as one. It could build a stronger nation. So let me sing songs of unification.
Independence 2024.
Now it's not the time for that. Now it's not the time for that.
You know what? I'm not hearing my audio.
Now it's not the time for that. Now it's not the time for that.
One people, one journey, one future is all we. Yeah, is all away. Aside to say, let me tell you about my country. My country is so dear to me. Established in the 14th centuries, colonized in the 18th centuries. Independence 74. Grenada had freedom for so. Immani show. Some call the Cameroon, some call the Conception Island, others call the La Grenada. We call the Grenada. That's the name we truly prefer. Together we'll build aspire. Together build advance. That's the motto of my land, my sweet homeland, my land, my sweet homeland.
Yeah, and tonight I will be having on with me Mr. Nimrod Olivier. Should be coming on with me about 8:30. I'm not sure what's going on when it comes to my audio tonight. I am definitely not hearing myself. Yeah, I'm just not hearing myself tonight. And my technical help is pretty far away tonight, yeah. But for some reason, I am not hearing my voice.
Welcome stone, the lakes of wonders, mountain high and fireside. You will always meet a smile. Face and race don't matter to we. Hearts and hands help build this country. This is home, welcome to my place. Rain or shine, it's plenty niceness. That's the place we truly prefer. Together we'll build a
So I just want you all to let me know if you all are hearing me clearly, if you all are hearing me clearly, because I can't hear myself in studio tonight. For some reason, I don't know what is up with my system, but I cannot hear myself in studio tonight at all. I'm hearing the music, but I can't hear myself.
My sweet homeland, Grenada, 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 Grenada. 'Cause there is no island in the world, no place that you'd rather be than right here in my country. I'm telling you, go all over the world, no place that you'd rather be than right here in my country.
All right, so once I know you all are hearing me clearly, that's the main thing.
Head up high, walking with
We're going to try to make it work tonight, yeah?
full flies, many trials we've encountered.
As I said, I'm not sure what is taking place. I just cannot hear myself in studio tonight. I know it's not the headphones. It's something with the board.
Once a year you won't
Have to have that sorted out during the day tomorrow.
take a drive. Citizens, you'll be in life. For this land I'm singing this
Yeah,
song.
folks, so
On a
just want to go over one or two things. First one I want to address tonight is the issue of what is taking place with some of our Immani trainees. Before we get into the discussion a little later on with Mr. Nimrod Olivier, the first one I want to get into is what is taking place with some of our Immani trainees. During the budget presentation, and even prior to the budget presentation, in fact, I believe it was a General Council of the National Democratic Congress at the St. Andrews Secondary School, there was the announcement that Immani trainees will receive a $500 increase, which in itself was misleading. Now, afterwards, after making the statement that Immani trainees would be receiving a increase in their stipend of $500, then we started hearing that instead of $500, they would be receiving whatever increase was necessary to take them to $1,200. Yeah, so the second story we started getting was that there will be an increase, but the increase is going to take all trainees up to $1,200. So a trainee who was working for $700 would receive the $500. That would take them to the $1,200. And those at the who are getting the $800, they would get a $400 increase, and so on and so forth, so that all trainees, regardless of their qualifications, would receive $1,200 under the Immani program. That is what Immani trainees were told. That is what the staff of the ministry were told. That is what everybody, the nation, was told, that the increase is going to bring all of these trainees up to $1,200. Lo and behold, the first payment is made, and the story has changed now to only Immani trainees who are working directly under the government of Grenada are the ones who are going to receive the increase to bring them up to $1,200. So the expectation that many of those trainees out there had, many of these young people who were told that they are receiving an increase to bring them up to $1,200, but they, while receiving a stipend from the government of Grenada, and also they're working the private sector, while they were being told that yes, you're getting a $500 increase, they were lied to, because the $500 increase only applies to those working within the government service. So you're working within a ministry or a statutory body, and assuming statutory bodies, because sometimes they treat the statutory bodies as private enterprises, have received the $500 increase. And there are many instances of Immani trainees who are within the government service and have not received the $500 increase. In fact, I know of circumstances of individuals, trainees who are within the service. They are working at institutions. Everybody else get the increase. They ain't get no increase. So you see the nonsense, and you see where the lies come from, and where the misinformation and disinformation and all of these things come from, that you can't believe this government. Remember, these were the same people that said they would be giving $150 to the people under the seed program at the budget previous. And we know what happened when January came around. So now we're hearing of yet another promise that has been made to the trainees under the Immani program. Now, January has come around, time for stipend has come around, but that change has not been reflected in any of the trainees. They never said that during the budget. They never said it's only applicable to trainees under the government service. They never said that. They never said that it's only trainees who are working for the government of Grenada that would receive these increases. And as such, there was an expectation by many of those who are not working directly with government. They're under the program, so they receive part of the stipend from the government and part from the enterprise that they work with that is not a government, a private enterprise, there was that expectation that they too would be able to benefit to bring them up to that threshold, because the promise was that who is going to give the Immanis $500? That was the promise. And that was the promise made, and again, it was not kept. So you have that situation now with those trainees who are not receiving the increase that they were supposed to increase according to what the government said. So that's the first one I wanted to point out tonight before we get into the larger discussion a little later on. There's the second issue I want to raise, and believe me, we'll be dealing with these more extensively. Tonight's program was planned to deal with the issue of national security, which is why I'm just touching on these issues, but we will deal with them more extensively tomorrow night and, of course, Thursday and Friday night. Yes, we are doing the Friday night program, God's willing, right? Additionally, for several months, we have not received figures from the Ministry of Health. Well, we know we had a joker in charge. They take it and put him in youth. That's possibly why this nonsense taking place in youth. It was taking place before, but the nonsense continues in the Department of Youth, because it's not really a ministry again. They have downgraded it as far as I'm concerned. So now you have a situation where for last week alone, you have 17 COVID cases being found. And you know, you and I know, if they find 17, there's a lot more than that, because you have to talk about the contacts that these people have been involved with. If they're school children, they've been in the school. If they are working people, the workplace, the bus, different things like that. So you have a situation where there's a significant increase in COVID-19 cases here in Grenada. Now, you've been hearing that there are significant increases out there in St. Vincent. You've been hearing about it in the US and the UK and Europe and all over. You've been hearing about significant increases in COVID numbers. Yet still, the government of Grenada had to take serious cajoling today to realize that they need to give the figures of what is taking place with COVID-19. I have someone who's close to me that had COVID 2 weeks ago. Yeah? 2 weeks ago. They went and they did their tests. They were feeling sick and so on. They did COVID-19. Yeah? So COVID-19 is in circulation. But again, the government that talks about, oh, they're into providing information and giving information and they want this good working relationship with the media and so on, has not found it necessary for the past few months, since the last time when we exposed the fact that there were people that had died from COVID-19 and all of the different areas that they have diseases and so on, we were able to explain that and give that information to you. They have not been giving out information in relation to COVID-19 here in Grenada. What are they hiding? In Trinidad, the Minister of Health, in fact, I should have the article there. In Trinidad, the Minister of Health has been warning, they've been warning the population in Trinidad to be careful. They have been warning them to be careful. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, they have been warning them in Trinidad to be careful because COVID-19 is on the rise. They are going in, and that's today's newspaper, huh? Yeah? So they are going into their carnival season. Yes, Grenada is going into a carnival season on the island of Carriacou. So Carriacou is going to have the Carriacou Carnival. There'll be many people coming back from the US and the UK and other Caribbean islands and so on to partake in the festivities out there in Carriacou. Yeah? Outside of that, we have the normal, this is the tourist season, so we have people coming in and so on. So Trinidad is warning people that they have increased COVID-19 cases and deaths. Grenada, crickets. Nothing. Yeah? In addition to that, you also have the situation, and you're seeing a lot of people with the flu around, and a lot of people saying, well, it have a bad flu passing through, and it have a bad cold passing through, and that sort of thing. And you're seeing a lot of people passing around, and they're coughing, and they have the flu, and so on. But you're not hearing that there is an increase in swine flu right next door in St. Vincent. And we know the Vinci is going online when Carriacou Carnival taking place, and we know they're going, right? So, in St. Vincent, they have an increase in swine flu cases. Yeah? The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Environment wishes to advise the public to take all necessary precautionary measures to protect themselves from infectious diseases such as COVID-19, dengue fever, leptospirosis, and influenza virus, including influenza A, H1N1 swine flu. Yeah? The Surveillance Committee with the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Environment would like to report that during the period 25th of December 2023 to January 6, 2024, there was a notable increase in the influenza A, H1N1 swine flu cases in St. Vincent, with 32 laboratory confirmed cases. Yeah? So they are having increased cases of H1N1 in St. Vincent. But yet still, the ministry is silent here, and I'm not blaming the chief medical officer. Oh no, I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming the permanent secretary and the others within the ministry. I'm not blaming them. The leadership are the ones that are hiding the information from the Grenadian people. Information that can assist us in protecting ourselves and our loved ones. Yeah? So it is time, it is high time that we start getting regular updates to the media, to the people of Grenada, on what is taking place when it comes to these various diseases, be it leptospirosis, be it dengue fever, be it COVID-19, be it H1N1. Let people know so they know how to protect themselves, especially if they are people that are more susceptible to dying if they get any of these infections. For instance, cancer patients, people on cancer treatment and that sort of thing, elderly people, babies and so on. Let people know. But it has to be a case now that the media has to try and wring this information out of the Ministry of Health. That is very, very unfair. And as I'm speaking about the Ministry of Health, had a situation. Good night to you, Zayla, Zoe, Zalia. Good night to all of you. Go and sleep. Sleep time. Neela, Namara, good night to both of you as well. Deshaun, good night. Yeah. This morning I was listening to Plead Your Cause with Shaggy. And there was this caller that referred to a situation of a gentleman who was sent his dismissal letter on his hospital bed by the Ministry of Sports. Now, this is an individual that has a contract for taking care of the playing field in Laura. Yeah? This individual has a contract for taking care of the playing field in Laura. Now, the individual, as of late, has come down with kidney problems and also vision problems. But they have a team that works along with them. So the team is doing the job and so on. And that person was glad to have that contract because that's how they're keeping themselves alive. That's how they're paying for the dialysis ain't cheap, you know. And people are not receiving the sort of assistance that they received before under the new National Party. They're not receiving that sort of assistance under the NDC administration. So now you have an individual that has to do their dialysis, and it's a serious situation. They've not told me to tell anybody the business, but it's a serious situation when it comes to this particular patient. Yeah? They need to do their treatment, and they have lost their only means of income to pay for that treatment. So you tell me it's people that care about people, people that like people, people that is human beings, that go send a letter to such an individual while they lie down on the hospital bed. They could have go into shock and die right there. But they made sure, because they've been telling that individual, As my good friend, they've been telling that individual from day one. And Mr. Samuel, up there in Laura, and Mr. Samuel, they've been telling that individual from day one, well, what you're doing with that contract still, what are you working there still for? So now it has come to the fore that they have removed the individual now. Are they going to provide any assistance to that individual for dialysis treatment? Are they going to assist them in any way? Not a word. So in other words, they don't care if you're dead. But they take the contract because they have somebody else to give it to. And they find that that is right to do. They find that that is okay. That is people that carry the symbol of a heart and say that they have a heart, that they like people. And look, it just happens when they bring the person who was over in the Ministry of Health destroying it, they bring them over in youth and sports, because this incident now is under the Ministry of Sports, the same as the non-payment to the Immani trainees is under the Ministry of Youth. And you know who is in charge of those ministries right now? The same one who failed over in the Ministry of Health. So these are just some of the things that I wanted to raise before we go into tonight's program. It's 8:30 now. I have to connect with my good friend Nimrod Olivier to bring him on to talk about some issues too in relation to national security. As many of you heard last night, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell was on GBN last night, and he did make reference to the issue of ISIS being registered. No, they ain't going to come and register as ISIS, you know. But they are registered here in Grenada. And we're not asking. I'm not asking. I'm telling you that they are registered here in Grenada. Yeah? That's a certainty. We're not guessing. They're registered here in Grenada. And as far as we know, you never know. Because if they have registered here and they're carrying out business here, considering that various members of the administration tend to frequent various parts of the Middle East, we are not sure if members of that organization may or may not be carrying our passport. So the government has to answer on this one. We need answers from the government of Grenada on this one. Yeah? As Dr. Mitchell so succinctly put it last night. Yeah? If it is true, say it's true, do stuff to correct it. If it is not true, don't let the story circulate. Come out and say it is not true. But if it's true and you come out to say it's not true, just know you will be embarrassed. That's all I have to say in relation to that. Right? So we're going to be speaking about that a little more again. We're going to be speaking a little bit more about that. But before I bring on my good friend Nimrod Olivier, before I bring him on with us, I want to just tell you all a bit about something that's taking place right now. Now, you do have the issue where they're speaking of bringing a particular artist into Grenada. Yeah, they've been speaking about bringing a particular artist into Grenada and having him here and so on. Yeah, so they're speaking about bringing that particular artist is Cayman 6. Now, I think we as Grenadians and we as parents need to understand certain aspects of this. One, the type of music that is promoted by that particular artist is extremely violent. Yeah, extremely. I need to say extremely violent. That's the kind of music that is promoted by that individual. It is not the type of music that you would want to encourage. It's not the type of music I think you would want to encourage your children to be viewing. Yeah. For instance, let me just in fact let me play one. Let me just show one to you all. I'm not gonna play the audio because the audio, believe me, some of what is being said there, I don't want to play the audio to you all, but let me just play a little video of some of what, this is what is being promoted by that. This is the artist there with the gun in their hand. And this is the type of things that artist is promoting. Who want to say bring them can say bring them. I have a view too. And the kind of thing they're promoting is what you're seeing in this video. Yeah? the gun culture, and we realize that we're having a problem when it comes to the gun culture in our country at this point in time. Yeah? And that is exactly what they are promoting. They are promoting the gun culture. Yeah? That's the sort of thing that they are promoting. You're having a problem. Are you going to bring somebody who is going to help promote the same kind of thing that you're trying to get rid of? Are you going to allow that person to come into your country to continue with that same sort of thing? Yeah? That same sort of thing that you're trying to stamp out. That same sort of thing that you're trying to get out of your country. Are you going to allow artists to come into your country and promote that sort of thing? And folks, we're not opening the phone lines until a little bit later. I see one or two folks are trying to call, but we're not going to open the phone lines until a bit later, because these are the kind of songs that they promote. They promote the violent sort of thing, the gunman kind of thing. And I'll tell you something. There is a problem in our secondary schools right now when it comes to this 6 and 7 nonsense. Yes, and I'm calling it as it is. Nonsense. Many of you may or may not be aware that your children are already involved in this 6 and 7 stupidness. That there are various secondary schools where there are students that identify as 6, part of the 6 gang, and who identify as part of the 7 gang. And the music that's coming out of Trinidad supporting that sort of thing. There is music that's coming out of Trinidad supporting that sort of thing. That music is what that artist is coming here, or was supposed to be coming here. I don't know if they're going to allow the artist to come in or not, and they're going to say, well, freedom of expression, etc. But I can't understand if you're having a problem in your country with this type of violent music, this type of violent sort of stuff, that you are going to take the opportunity to allow that sort of music. I mean, this is the artist. This is the artist that they say they want to bring into Grenada to come and sing for our young people. This is the type of music that they do. This is the type of life that they promote. This is the type of thing that we want to allow people to come into our country to come and teach our young ones. Yeah? That's the kind of thing. Yeah? So this is what we want to have somebody come in Grenada to teach our young people. Someone who was nearly killed twice in the last few months in Trinidad. Yeah? But we want to encourage them to come and teach this kind of thing to our children here. But don't get it twisted. Our children here are already deeply into these different groups. As I said, the 6 and the 7 thing is already here in Grenada. It's already here. Yeah, it ain't coming. It reached already. It is already here in Grenada, and it is a situation that we must address. I do not know of a single secondary school that it is not in. Let me repeat that, because some of you might think, well, not my child's school. There is not a single secondary school that I can say it is not in. Yeah? It is in all the secondary schools. Male and female, don't get tied up. Male and female in this thing. So it is all over, and it is an issue that we must address. All right, folks, I'm going to take a short break because I want to bring Brother Nimrod Olivier on. So let me just get him on the Zoom, make sure that everything is okay, and bring him on. So let me just pull some music here, and I'll be bringing him up.
A place that is under the sun. One
133 square miles. Even though we very small, come visit, you'll have a ball. I tell you, this is a paradise. A lot of people don't know we have nutmeg and cocoa. That is how we came the Isle of Spice. So in 1974, Uncle Gary fought for so. That is when we became recognized. But that wasn't sufficient. We wanted independence, so we could be proud like Trinidad. Gary came back from England. That day was liberation. He brought back the ice, gold and green flag. Happy anniversary to my little country. Now won't you join with me and sing this melody? We celebrating 50. Let us live in unity. Put away political party.
Let me just make sure my good friend Nimrod Olivier can hear me. Brother Nimrod, are you there? Make sure my good friend Nimrod Olivier can hear me. Brother Nimrod, are you there? Oh boy, I seem to be having the same problem when it comes to, oh boy, I'm not sure what is taking place tonight. Brother Nimrod, are you hearing me? Brother Nimrod, are you hearing me? Yeah, it seems to be a general problem I'm having tonight because I can't hear anything on his end. Oh dear. Yeah, let me see if I can get that problem solved.
Brand new page. Equal rights was what we want. That was very important for we to uplift our standard. Black people was not relevant. We could not even walk in pant. Now that part of we history revamp. Happy anniversary to my little country. Now won't you join with me and sing this melody? We celebrating 50. Let us live in unity. Put away political party. Even the blind could see this year is history. Even the blind could see this year is history. Even the blind could see this year is.
All right, let me see if I can hear Brother Nimrod. Hello.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. So I think I did a workaround, so I'm hearing you clearly. Are you coming on video, bro?
Yeah, I'm on video.
For some reason, I'm not seeing you on video. I don't know why.
It's on. It's activated.
No, I'm not seeing you on video, bro. You have to check your thing, man.
Well, I'm watching myself.
Yeah, you're watching yourself inside there, but we're not seeing you here. But in the interim, a special good night to you, bro. Until we solve that issue out. But a special now I'm seeing you, man. No, you're on, man. What kind of thing you was doing midday?
Technology. You see, Rodney not here to straighten it out for me. So.
Oh, that's the issue. The boss himself is not there. So all right.
We would not have had that issue.
Yes. So a special good night to you, bro. How have things been going?
Special good night to you, Sheldon, and your wonderful listeners out there in listener land world, and things are going well. You know, of course, I'm here in beautiful Spice Island where everything is nice. You know, hot sunshine. Well, everything is nice. Nice as you make it. Mm-hmm. You know, because we do have some challenges and some issues, but give God and the praise and thanks for allowing you to waking you up. In the morning time and, enjoying beautiful Grenada.
Yes, of course, my brother, of course. And we're talking of a situation that is existing in Grenada right now, my brother. There is a situation taking place within our school system. The artist that was coming, and someone is telling me that you're very low, so let me try to raise the volume on you here. I hope that helps it. So give me a little test there again, Brother Nimrod. Let me make sure everything is okay on your end.
How is this now?
Yeah, man. You're red up there, man. you're like the flashing lights of a New York police. Yeah. So one of the issues that we're having right now is that within the school system, there is definitely a problem when it comes to the gang warfare sort of thing. Now, it hasn't broken out into warfare yet. There have been little scuffles and incidents and so on. There has been incidents of graffiti being plastered on some of the schools and different things like that taking place. So what are your views on the approach that should be taken, first of all, in the schools to address this issue? And I must say, it's a broader issue as well, because there are also different groups in different parts of the island that identify as 6 and 7 and so on. You may even be surprised to know that even on buses and so on, you have some bus drivers that involved in this thing, bus drivers and conductors that involved in this thing as well. So it is a much broader movement than I think a lot of people realize existed in Grenada. There's even the aspect of it where there are, on the cultural aspect, if you know where you're going on YouTube, you're seeing the videos and you're seeing many of the fellas throwing up the gang signs and some of them actually saying the 6 and thing is most of them is 6 around, but you're hearing those things. Your views in relation to that?
Well, again, Sheldon, like I always say, anytime you have issues like that are prevailing in the society, in the schools, you have to take a proactive approach. The best and the measured way to handle it is to be proactive, because you don't want to sit back and say, hey, nothing is happening, it's just kids being kids, and you let it fester and grow. And when, when the warfare breaks out, then you try to do something. That would be too late, because it might be 1 life or 2 lives later, which would be 1 life or 2 lives too many. So the fact that it's there and it's being recognized as being there, the law enforcement as well as the school administrators have to be proactive and trying to educate and to help eradicate it. Now, oftentimes we hear about gangs and we see the gang stuff on the television, and we tend to think, hey, it's not my child, it's not my kids, not my family, is the bad kids doing that. Not necessarily true, and a lot of times it's not true. I spent about 5 years in NYPD as a gang supervisor. I was actually running the gang squad for a while, for like about 5 years, and so I was very intricate. We were undercover. It was a plainclothes unit. We were undercover, and we were able to infiltrate them and become a part of their operations, right? And made a lot of gang arrests, and but you dealt with the more mainstream gangs, the Bloods, the Crips, the Trinitarios, the Latin Kings, right? And then with those you always have the offshoot, the lesser gangs, and those lesser gangs oftentimes are more brutal because they have to get their street cred, they have to gain credibility, and a lot of times the newer gangs or the lesser gangs, they're involved with a lot of the drug trade. There's a lot of drugs that's involved with that, and where there's drugs, there tends to be some violence, a lot of violence. So my recommendation is that law enforcement get a handle on it as soon as possible, because we may live to regret it.
Yes, indeed. Now, one of the things that you just mentioned is that the drug trade seems to have a lot to do with things like this. And that is one of the things that I know some of the schools have been picking up. There have been students who have been expelled. There have been students who have been suspended and so on. Well, in most cases, it's expelled from schools that have been found not only carrying drugs, but in some instances carrying weapons as well. Carrying knives, not necessarily guns, but carrying knives and so on to school. There's the different congregation of students that takes place at different locations after school. And we're not just speaking, don't get it twisted, don't think we're just speaking of St. George's here. We're speaking of all the other areas as well, congregations of students that gather in these areas. So there are these issues that are taking place and intertwined. The issue of drug use as well. And in fact, there's also one individual was telling me that they were passing close to a particular secondary school. And there were these students heavy in a gamble. Heavy in a gamble. So gambling is part of the entire thing that is taking place as well. The drugs are part of it. And the music, the same music that we now have being promoted in Grenada, is a very serious component of it as well. And I showed just a few, they say, just a few of the videos from Trinidad. I don't want to go and show the videos from Grenada, but there are lots of similar videos being done here in Grenada. No guidance being given. No, I mean, if you see guys doing videos of the quality of some of what I'm seeing in Grenada here, I would think that the first move you make is to try to get them, hey, let's do a movie. Let's do this. Let's do that. Try and use their creativity in the proper direction instead of just leaving them out there to flounder. But instead of that, we have what is taking place now. So, along with this, we've been hearing, Brother Nimrod, of the guns coming into the country and so on. Guns and we have areas. In fact, today there was a raid on the Carriacou area. We heard of 2 individuals being detained, some ammunition being, they got some ammunition. New Year's night, certain people in different areas were complaining about the volume of shots that they were hearing and so on. Your views on the gun situation in Grenada right now?
Well, I myself have, heard, some some gunshots, and it's no secret that there's a proliferation of weapons in the society now. Now, whether or not we want to sit and argue where the weapons is coming from, it's neither here nor there. The point is they're here. The question is, my main question is, what is law enforcement and the administration doing to combat the weapons, or to take care of the weapons coming into the island? What programs are in place? What policies are in place? We know, there was much talk about enforcing stiffer jail sentences and so. Those things only work if you catch the perpetrator. If you don't catch the perpetrator, then you could have the most stiff gun penalties in the Southern Hemisphere, but it's not going to matter. And guns or people using guns in a unsafe manner causes other persons to lose their life. Bullets don't have eyes, right? So oftentimes, we say, again, we sometimes as a society, we get the tendency to say, well, it doesn't matter, that's them, they're doing that thing, I'm not involved. Not really, because you don't know when A and B would have an issue or argument over whatever, and A and B decides to shoot it out, and you happen to be walking right by, and you end up in the middle of a gunfight, right? Or you or your family, and you could potentially lose your life. So it's incumbent on all of us to be proactive. It's incumbent on the police to have a more proactive approach rather than waiting for something to happen, right? How are these guns coming in, right? I've heard, some say, some responsible person saying that a lot of the weapons may be coming from North America. I'm not sure if I totally want to believe that. Because again, if you know that the border is open and the island may be used as a transshipment point for drugs, I could tell you, almost 100% certain that weapons follow the drugs. The weapons come with the drugs. I don't think much of the drugs or what we suspect is coming from North America. So yeah, while there may be some weapons coming from North America, the type of weapons that you hear that guys saying they have on the street, or the type of weapons that you hearing going off, it tends to be more high-powered weapons, which aligns directly with the illicit drug trade. So RGPF, the administration, the Minister of National Security, and all the security advisors, if there's any, have to let us know what policies that they are putting in place to help us feel safe. We pay taxes on this beautiful rock. We pay our taxes so that we can be safe. I pay taxes so that my son should not be feeling unsafe when he's out, playing and again, we tend to say, well, it's not here, it's not there, it's not my neighborhood. Nonsense. It's happening throughout the island, throughout the length and breadth. I think yesterday I saw, I wasn't able to confirm it, but I know I got a couple messages of allegedly there was a mass robbery somewhere in the countryside, I believe, and one of it was a police officer who was breastfeeding her baby was the victim also. So when are we going to really be proactive? When are we going to do something when innocent people start getting killed? When a police officer loses his or her life innocently, that's when the light bulb is going to go off. No, the time is now. We know the weapons are here. Let's start establishing ways and means that we can slow, I don't even want to say eradicate, slow the influx of the weapon. Let's find a way to get these weapons off the street. Come up with some programs, buyback programs. Let us start educating the young people. Let us start letting them know, and it ties into also the gang stuff that you were talking about earlier on, because the gang life, it's a glorified life, right? We see it on television, and we see the rap stars, and we see this, and we see that, and the young kids, they're impressionable. They have no responsibility, right? They don't have kids, they don't have responsibility at home, they don't have a mortgage, so they can do, they're free. So if they see John is living that kind of luxurious life and he's doing that and he's able, they glorify that, and he's able to bring them under his fold and tell them they could share in that also, and they're doing the illegal stuff for him, puts a weapon in their hand, what happens? Right? Because again, you don't have that responsibility. Those of us that are much older before we take action. Because right now at my stage in my life, if somebody slapped me on my right face, I probably would be like, was it Jesus or John in the Bible that said, turn to the other side? Because that's where I'm at my stage in my life now, because I don't want to do something that would cause me to lose my freedom. So sometimes you take your slap, you humble, and you go. With the younger ones, that's not what it is. You look at them the wrong way, and it ends up in World War III. You understand what I'm saying? So RGPF has to be, I will say it throughout the night, has to be more proactive.
Is it a case where just the RGPF has to be more proactive? We see the situation with the young ones, what is going on there, what is coming up. And is it a situation that we need a strong Ministry of Youth, a strong Ministry of Education
again,
to help address the problem at that level, and at the same time work with the other areas, work with the elder ones as well?
I'm putting the onus on RGPS, saying that you have to be more proactive. Again, it's a holistic approach, right? It's not just proactive in terms of enforcement, in terms of getting the guns from the kids or locking people up, arresting people. No, it's a holistic approach, right? In that educating, providing services, right? But the law enforcement agency should take the lead. You should take the lead and establish programs through working in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Education. You establish programs that you would help educate the youths regarding the ills of these things. Earlier on you mentioned, the gambling and probably the potential drug use by some of our young ones. And while all of that is good, and while the school catches it and you suspend them for 2 days or 3 days, what does that solve? Right? How is our truancy program in Grenada here? How is our juvenile program? Yes, you have the juvenile center, but sometimes it's not necessarily sending them to the juvenile center. So you have to have programs that would help take care of what the root cause of the problem. Maybe it's a socioeconomic problem, right? Maybe the kid is reaching out for some help. What groups, what organizations you have here in Grenada that can help solve some of the problems. But we have to first admit and recognize that there is a problem, there is an issue, and then we take the necessary step. Now, we can't sit back and say, well, the Ministry of Youth should do this, and the ministry. Hence the reason why I say, because it's a firearm and a drug issue, law enforcement should take the lead and work in conjunction. Work in conjunction with the other agencies and groups in a holistic approach in taking care of our issue on the island.
Now, I will say that we have had issues in the past, especially when it comes to gangs and so on. We've had issues with those things taking place in the past. And the approach has been very proactive. In fact, I found a document, and I always forget to bring the document with me, but it's the crime strategy that existed under a former New National Party administration, where each government department and even non-governmental agencies and so had their part to play, from the St. John's Ambulance Brigade and Red Cross to Girl Guides and so on. And you barely hear about Cub Scouts and those kind of things now on the island. You don't hear about that. But the Police Boys Club, all these different things, the roles that they had to play in reducing crime. The Ministry of Health, the Ministry of the Ministry of Health was the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Youth, the prison service, the police service, the role that each of them played in that particular issue. As it is right now, the churches have a significant role to play. As it is right now, we're just hearing silence. There seems to be no strategy. And remember, a few months ago, my brother, I'm sure that you can remember that the Prime Minister did announce that there's a National Security Council. I don't know if the council meet. I don't know if the national body foreign, because they're always overseas. I don't know what is the problem. But we have not heard anything further about this National Sports Council. Not Sports Council, Security Council. We heard about the National Sports Council, but we ain't hear nothing about the National Security Council again.
Well, Sheldon, what's the point in having a National Security Council when our beloved Prime Minister, our same Prime Minister, says to us that not because he has a premonition. I mean, you stood in the Parliament building and says that you knew the guns was coming and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. What's the purpose of a council? If I am hearing that from my boss, you tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do. If my boss is putting his hands up and say, well, it's a pandemic or epidemic in the Caribbean and we knew the guns is coming and there's nothing I could do as Prime Minister and or Minister of National Security, what am I in the council supposed to do? Where would my recommendations go? Because you already said you knew it was coming, but there's nothing you can do about it. And that was totally wrong. That was totally flawed. Because who's listening?
And we recognize that not too long after that is when we start hearing these volleys of shots being fired in different areas and this sort of behavior taking place. So it seems as though some of the statements being made are lending to the behavior that is taking place as well, because they are not properly thought out. When you make a statement, for instance, that you don't believe in guns at all, yes, that might be your personal belief. Grenadians don't have to buy into your personal belief. What is best for the Grenadian people may not be what you personally believe. And when you make statements like the police, not even the police should have guns and so on, the criminals laughing because they're saying, yeah, take it from them. Take it from everyone.
And I totally agree with you, because again, that statement was very earlier on up in the administration. And again, who's listening? The bad guy is listening. Not just the bad guy locally, the bad guy out there, the guys that wants to use here, and maybe this was not the first choice. This island was not the first choice in the drug trade. But guess what signal? Listen, well, there's a prime minister and there's a leader that's not too concerned about weapons, right? Perception is everything. Perception is most people's reality. So if privately, if that was, you can share what you want with your commissioners and your advisors privately, but you need to let us know as the nation, my police officers are well armed and are prepared to face everything in the street. And you let people know that. And It is what it is. Maybe in your whole, however long you're there, you never bought a new weapon for the police officer. Maybe you did not change nothing. Maybe you may have took back the 9mm and gave them 380s, or took back the 380s and gave them 38. But the point is, you send a clear message to the nation that I am backing my law enforcement officers, and we are prepared to take the street, to take our street back. I was listening someone contrasting. I'm not sure if it's your program, or maybe it was your program. I believe it was your program. Contrasting statements regarding the same gun issue in the Caribbean by our Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of Trinidad, right? While our Prime Minister clearly stated, well, I knew the guns was coming and there's nothing I could do about it. Trinidad, as we know, has a lot of more homicides and a lot more shootings and a lot more guns than this island, because the population is probably 20 times, what's it, 1.5 million or something? So
yeah, going that direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So
getting closer to
10 times or so, 10, 12 times more than our population, right? But the point is, the Prime Minister in Trinidad, what did he say? I have instructed my Minister of National Security to operate within the laws that govern Trinidad and ensure that the gun issue is taken care on the streets. Big difference. Big difference. Do we even know if he ever had a discussion with his commissioner? He probably did, but he also probably not. But the point is, he assured the nation that we are not going to sit back and just let the rouge elements take over our country.
Now, let me ask this question. In your experience before, do you think harsher laws in relation to possession and using a firearm have caused people to not get involved in it? Do you think, because in my mind, I believe that a person who has an illegal firearm, most of them are involved in the illegal drug trade. Most of them really don't care if you lock them up for 10 or 15 or 20 years. If they were, they would not be involved in that trade in the first place.
Well,
have you seen it actively, effectively affect the numbers of people involved in that particular criminal offense?
Well, is it a measurable deterrent? I would say yes, it's a deterrent, but it's a deterrent for who, right? Because again, if you're bent and being in the underworld and being in the criminal world, you will do what you have to do. And some will chalk it up as the cost of doing business. Even if you get caught, you probably figure you'll beat the charge or whatever. So I don't think it's gonna, persons would say, well, they changed the law from possession for 5 years, and now if I get with possession, it's 10 years. If you are bent on committing illegal acts and crimes, and that's your mandate, and the weapon is just as a means of facilitating, you would continue. You would continue doing it.
If you had the opportunity at this point in time, what would be your approach to the issue? What would you suggest is the approach to this particular issue at this time?
Well, I think right now, based on how the things are on Ireland, the RGPF should be seriously thinking about a gun task force. I'm not aware that they have one. They may well be, but if they don't, they need to create a gun task force. They need to be more interactive with the streets. I know we don't have a big undercover unit here or plainclothes guys. You do have plainclothes guys, but I know you don't really have a big undercover unit because the society is kind of small. So, most people kind of know who the cops, and to get this undercover guys, you would have to pull guys out of the academy and so they never really was in the street. So I know we really don't really have that, but they need to get back to the basic community policing in terms of fostering relationship with the communities, because people in our society know, right? When these guns are going off, there's people in the windows looking, and they're knowing who's firing these guns and everything. So we need to build back that relationship with the community. They need to create some policies that could let people know that what's going on is not right. such as maybe a gun buyback policy. I don't know, that we put money in the budget for a lot of things. Maybe we could come up with some sort of policies where we I know it worked in New York City, right? It worked. The gun buyback program did work in New York City, and a lot of guns came up the street.
Do you think I'll go in and hand over my AR-15 just like that? I mean,
well,
I go hand over my 12 gauge just like that, man. I mean,
listen, $1,000 goes a long way, my brother. So maybe it might be that month when you need $1,000 to do do something, and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go hunting no more. They also need to engage with the community leaders, not just the community, right? The community leaders be more proactive with those in the community that kind of govern the neighborhood. Every little neighborhood have an elder, that is influential. So we need to engage that. We need to have more activities for these young people. Better coordination with the sports, right? We need to better train our cops. We need to better train our street cops so that they can be more proactive. I think there's like a lull over the police force right now, and we just not seeing it, right? Again, more funding for the Coast Guard, proper funding for the Coast Guard, so that the Coast Guard could be more proactive. Yes, Grenada is very porous. We know that. We know we are very porous, and there's tons of entry points. But one Coast Guard and a couple speedboat is not going to cut it. So we need to look for, proper funding, engage, whether it's USAID or engage these big agencies that would help and assist in trying to, because if you take care of the drugs in the Caribbean, it's not going to make its way to North America, right?
Exactly.
Right. That was. I mean, we know. We could sit here and debate whether or not the war on drugs was effective and whether it worked or not. But that's not the issue now. We know that there's a proliferation of drugs coming from certain countries and passing through our borders. So, and with these drugs, there's a very, very likelihood that that's where most of these weapons, So again, if the cry is loud enough and we could show just cause, we just might have. But I really think the Coast Guard and port security needs to be looked at and help bolster their existence and hence, and at the same time focus on your drug squad. Make sure you have a robust drug squad that has that training also, that training requisite for firearm detection and all of that. So those are some of the things that we could look at that may help.
Well, let me ask a further question here as we're speaking on this particular aspect. We heard of volleys of shots going off in a particular area, and we also heard that the police were slow in responding. Do you think that is a symptom of the malaise that we see in the Royal Grenada Police Force at this point in time? Is it a case that police officers looking at this and saying, by me, I don't go in and risk my life there. And in the first 15 years, I passed the exam, them men wouldn't even give me a stripe. And now I'm supposed to go and risk my life to go there with these guys with gun. And I mean, the only bulletproof vest I have is what Nimrod Olivier gave us years ago. That's the only bulletproof vest I have. Should I go into this area? Is the lack of immediate action by certain aspects of the Royal Grenada Police Force symptomatic of the malaise over the entire force as it is at this point in time, well, people leaving, etc., etc.?
I would agree with that statement. I think definitely there is a lull in the police force. I think guys are discontented, for a number of reasons, and they are not motivated. And motivation is yes, and it's very easy for people to say, well, you're getting paid, you should do your job. Look, I was a police officer for 23 years. Well, not just a police officer, as a supervisor, coming up through the ranks. And yes, you are getting paid to do your job. But at the same time, you sometimes you do a job, you're doing the job, and you think there's no thanks, no thank you behind it, and so people look for different things to keep them motivated. A simple thing, it doesn't necessarily has to be, monetary, or sometimes it's not even promotion. But a simple thing as having a clean bathroom, having a clean kitchen in the precinct, right? Making sure you get adequate time off, right? Making sure you could spend your kids' birthday with them sometime. Not all, but sometimes, right? Making sure that maybe, all right, carnival season is a busy season. Some of the big boys getting off, but we, the small guys, we have to work all the time. Give us the Thursday night off. Give us the Friday night off, right? You rotate it. So things like that, it does affect. But I think, no, I would use a word, I hope I use it in the right context. I'm very optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, right? So I look at life with an optimistic point of view, right? Notice I didn't say optimism point of view, right? I said optimistic point of view. So don't call me to.
You're an optimist.
So I look at life in that realm, and I do believe most persons that take the oath to serve, they do that from a good place, right? They take the oath to become a police officer from a good place, wanting to contribute and wanting to help. But oftentimes, we as supervisors, well, I'm no longer a supervisor, but sometimes, we as supervisors, we get complacent and we take it for granted, and we don't take care of the guys. We don't take care of the troops, right? So, yes, if a guy is there and he's doing his thing for 20 years, and he might see it like as his last shot of getting promoted, and you wouldn't promote me because you think you know what my political affiliation is, it's not right. I wouldn't be motivated. Why? Because junior guys, the thinking for junior guys is always, well, if I work hard and I do well, it's not really for me, it's for you, the supervisor. And I remember, even when I was just a sergeant, I used to tell my troops, I used to tell my guys often, guys, this is your career, right? I'm already established. I'm already a supervisor. I'll probably get promoted a couple more times, right? But this is about you making your mark. So you don't do something because you want to make me look good. I've already worked, and I've already established myself, right? So my work spoke for itself as a cop. And then now I'm taking exams and I'm getting promoted. I'll pass these exams. I'll get promoted. But I want you to work because you believe that you want to make something better for yourself. And I will help you get there. I will help you get there because, I have a few friends in the NYPD, and I would push for you. So you do your job, and you do an outstanding job, you do an exceptional, I would reflect that in your evaluation, and I will personally make the calls to the chiefs for the recommendation for you. But if you don't take care of the guys, what are you going to have? You're going to have what you have now. So I wanted to make the point, Sheldon, in saying, when I was saying that I'm very optimistic. I don't think any police officer would be in the immediate vicinity or even see a weapon firing off and not respond, right? So I want to put that out there. But if it's 12 hours after the fact, 18 hours after the fact, all right, well, let the detectives do the investigation. Let them do the thing. I'm not prepared adequately to go face what I'm hearing. Again, if I don't know. I don't know if the weapons were taken from the police officer, but it was stated in very early in the administration that I don't even believe that my police officers should be armed. So if shots are being fired, you really want an unarmed police officer respond and run into a place where shots are being fired, right? In New York, sometimes people get a little thing with New York City, but in New York City, when the building is burning, everybody runs from the building. Who runs to the building? The fireman, right? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
When shots fired and everybody's running away, including the fireman, who runs towards where the bullet is being fired on?
Yeah, the police
Police
officer.
officers. But as the police officer is responding to the direction of where the shot is fired, he is making sure that he has the necessary tool to deal with whatever he runs into. Right? Yeah. What's the point in you responding to shots being fired and you're going to be a sitting duck if you don't have the tools to neutralize or to take care of the shots being fired?
Do you believe that outside, and you've mentioned the possibility that one of the suggestions you're making is the creation of a specific unit that deals with gun interdiction and so on, dealing with guns and so. Is one of your suggestions as well a gang unit, a specific unit, and not a gang unit in the sense of you just go and you meet a bunch of fellas and so, but a gang unit along the lines of what you were mentioning a bit earlier as existed out there? Because some of us tend to think that these are things that exist only out in the, as they like to call themselves, the first world countries, the US and the Europe and this sort of thing, and not understanding that there's a lot of sophistication to what is taking place in our little island amongst the elements that decide that they want to head the wrong direction. There is quite a lot of sophistication in what is taking place there. It doesn't just happen like that. They are learning a lot, and these days you have the university or YouTube to teach you nearly anything you want to do, and you have other means of learning on the dark web and so on that you could learn a lot of stuff. Is it that we need to also have now a gang unit that could also cross into all of these areas?
Yes, well, that's the squad that I spoke of. Remember, I said a gun shooting task force, but with also encompassing the whole drug squad and drug trade and all of that, but specifically dealing with that. And listen, I know I'm not sure the numbers now, but the size of the force here used to be I think it was just about 1,000 or a little less than 1,000, with maybe 700 or so or 650 uniformed and another 300 or 350 in civilians and the auxiliaries or whatever. So if you could peel off a 10 or 12 of your best guys, or competent guys, not necessarily a best guy, competent guys with a competent supervisor, you might be surprised the results that you could get, where their only focus, their single focus is on dealing with guns and the drugs. Because if you follow the drugs, you follow the gun, you follow the money, you're gonna get results. I joined the gang unit, I believe it was in 2008, and I had 12 guys. Right? And I took care of the whole of the New York City transit system. All gang activity in the New York City transit system, 2008 to 2012, was Sergeant Nimrod Olivier and his gang. Our name was the CAGE Unit, Citywide Anti-Gang Enforcement Unit. And we did it. We did it. Right? Cleaned up pretty much all the gang activity. And we were dealing with Latin Kings, Trinitarios, Bloods, Crips, whole of New York City. Man, we were so good. The New York City subway doesn't even go in Staten Island, and we used to be in Staten Island on the trains.
Mm-hmm. So you're making several suggestions here to the administration in relation to this issue. And I know a lot of people tend to have a problem when we make suggestions. They say we're giving them advice. But at the end of the day, we have to live here. We have to live here. Our family has to live here.
My son Rodney is growing up here. I want a safe Grenada for Rodney to grow up.
Yeah, so you can't wait until when your administration is in office to make the suggestions. You make the suggestions, is either they take it or they don't take it. If they take it, it's to their benefit. If they don't take it, it's to their detriment. But at least we have people that are willing to make suggestions to them. I think I've asked you this question before, but I can't remember for sure. If you're asked to serve on the National Security Council, would you be willing to do so? Considering your extensive background in these areas.
Sheldon, I am first Grenadian. I am a Grenadian, and I will do anything within my human powers and the strength of God to assist in helping keep Grenada safe. Not only would I assist, I would assist at no cost.
Right.
Free.
Have you ever been asked, because there are several people in the hierarchy of the Royal Grenada Police Force that know quite a bit of your extensive background, and if they didn't know before, they're knowing now. Have you ever been asked for any advice in relation to addressing some of these issues? Any advice at all? I know you've had a good working relationship with the RGPF over the years. I remember prior to 2013, I remember you coming in, bringing various items, supplies for the police, and afterwards doing the same thing again. Have you been asked for advice? Have they approached you in any format? Have they asked you?
Absolutely. No. I've never been asked for advice, and none of the top guys there, even though they all know me, and I've dealt with, most of them in some capacity in the past. They wouldn't. I don't expect for them to reach out, because again, we are so polarized with the politics in Grenada right now that it's people can't look past that. So the fact that I was a candidate for the new National Party, I guess that makes me ineligible to assist my country in any way. And for whatever reason, right? I'm available. Again, if I don't know it all, but whatever I do know, and even if you reach out to me for contacts. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. Right now, I have a friend of mine reach out to me, and I have some supplies in New York, some ballistic vests and some ballistic helmets and I will get it done and give it to them. I will pay the duty. I'll pay to ship it. I'll pay to clear it, and I'll turn it over to them. If they accept it, they accept it. If they want to use it, and I think we get so during the 2008 to 2013 Tillman Thomas administration, I probably gave the police force more things during that period than during any other NMP time, because I'm Grenadian first. It's not about politics.
Indeed, and I'm pretty sure there are many others who are listening. We say goodnight to all of you out there in the diaspora who are also willing to assist in that. Maybe some of them could contact you if they so desire. And we had to work the thing. We had to assist the men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force in whichever means that we can assist them. We need to do that. So if some of you want to contact Brother Nimrod Olivier, easy to find. Just be careful, because there's a fake profile on Facebook purporting to be him. So careful which one. Yeah, if you see me as a friend, yes, that is the correct one. If you see me as a friend. Yeah.
And Bitcoin. Me and Facebook with Bitcoins, really?
Yeah. But even that, Brother Nimrod, is another issue that is heavily affecting Grenada as it is right now. Over the years,
cybercrime is a thing.
Yeah, Grenadians have lost millions. And I make no joke about it. It's actually millions of dollars Grenadians have lost over the years through cybercrime. In fact, back in the early days, it used to be these people that they do it through the letter. So they would write a letter and they say, well, okay, I am so and so, and they send a picture, and then afterwards, the mother or something die, you have to send money and all of that. And many men here in Grenada, mainly men, were held with that and were sending money, 5,000, 10,000, all different things to people that they didn't know overseas. And now it's gone online. So we have these fake profiles that one has been created in the name of Mr. Nimrod Olivier, is why I'm raising it here, where they're speaking about Bitcoin, and they're showing you this thing and saying, well, look, we just get $20,000 and all this sort of thing. It's fake. It's fake. And it's something that I think that needs, I see Mr. Jervis Dabrio, and I must call his name, Mr. Jervis Dabrio. You hear him calling the radio stations. You see him doing interviews with the television stations. You see him posting online, trying to talk sense into some people in relation to these pages and what is being done. And yet still, many Grenadians are being held with the cybercrime.
The problem is, Sheldon, once we fall prey, and the reason why it works, right? the criminals that perpetrate that has become a lot more sophisticated. And the reason why it works is because we as human, we feel a sense of shame when we get caught out there. So when people get caught and they lose substantial amount of monies, it goes unreported because they feel embarrassed. They don't even want to let their family know. You can, especially if it's a man that may or may not be married, and somebody solicits you online, and how you want to go tell your wife that, right? So a lot of it goes unreported, and so the criminals get more emboldened, they get more sophisticated, and they they listen. Some of these, well, not some, most of these guys, they even have credit card readers. So you could even give them your credit card number and they punch it right in, and the money goes into some offshore or some dark bank in 5-10 seconds. So but again, it's a real issue. I know that the RGPF, I believe they do have a cybercrime unit. I'm not sure how active they are, but I encourage persons out there that with stuff like that to report it, because the only so the police could get a handle on it is if they gather all the information and able to track it down and to help take care of the issue.
On the same issue of the cybercrime, I think it's important that people understand that the different types that have been taking place. There's one where there are some young ladies in the African homeland, they're in Africa, and they contact men in Grenada and they start a conversation. Then it becomes romantic, and then it becomes a bit obscene. We can't go into details on air. And videos are exchanged, and afterwards the videos are being used to extort people here in Grenada. And there are situations where individuals here in Grenada have sent thousands of dollars to some of these people in Africa. And, they're going into Western Union and they're going into MoneyGram, and the people are asking them, hey, do you know the person that you're sending that money for? Do you personally know them? Have you met them before? Do you know them? And the ladies and the gentlemen at these places, they try their very best. They try their very best, but there are some people that are sending it anyway. And what a lot of people don't realize is, even if you send that money to them, they're blackmailing you, and you send that money to them, they are still going to release the video. They are still going to release the picture. And once you've paid them once, you have to pay them until the day that they release that, because they'll be after you on a nearly weekly basis. As soon as the money run out, I could send and get a 500 US from that one, or I could send and get 1,000 US from that one. If they don't pay, they release the video anyway. So it makes absolutely no sense paying in the first instance.
But it goes back to that sense of shame, and I think you remember sometime last year, I believe we even had a couple notable cases here in Grenada where that whole blackmail thing was tried, and I don't think the individual paid up because he more or less owned it and is like, okay, it's me, let's move on, But not everybody has that mental acumen and that mental capacity to handle the situation like that. But more and more, people like you that has the medium, you need to educate persons and constantly put it out there that, hey, just be aware, safeguard your stuff, because once we put stuff on the web, it's out there, and so people they gather and then they build these profiles and then they're able to attack.
Yeah, because they've taken pictures from your profile of yourself, your wife, everybody.
I have a wife posing.
And in the back of it, they're talking about Bitcoin. Poor Nimrod Olivier. Trying to sell the, Bitcoin. And we've seen it also happening with sitting government ministers. Many of them have had fake profiles made in their name. Be very careful. No government minister, I might have my belief in relation to them. There is no government minister that is going to contact you, my friends, and offer you, there's this grant under, have you heard about the USA grant or this grant or so? No government minister is going to contact you via Facebook or Instagram and try to tell you about that. None of them are going to email and tell you about that. If we may see them face to face. But one that sort of shocked me, another scam that shocked me recently, was one where the individuals will call you, they will tape your voice, and they would video call you, but they video call you on mute, so you might make the signal that you can't hear what they're saying also, and they videotape that. And they use artificial intelligence to get your voice, collect your voice, and then have you saying things that you never said. And they use that with other people to prove, in other words, they hide their identity by using a video of you. So they say call, and when you call, they play that video, and you are taken in by that. You say, well, okay, I talked to the person, but something was wrong on their end, they couldn't hear me.
Yes.
And they utilize that. So there are various techniques that they've been using to scam people. And again, millions of dollars have left Grenada over the last few years in these various scams. Not hundreds of thousands, millions have left Grenada. I know of, there's a situation of one lady that lost her house. There was another situation of a person over $200,000. And they had put that money into something similar to the Bitcoin. Well, I say Bitcoin instead of Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin coin thing. And when they were being told, and I know that the Royal Grenada Police Force here was telling them, hey, that's fake, stop putting money into it. And they were saying, well, the police trying to keep me back from making my money, and so they just bad mind me because they realize I'm going to make a set of money. And they were fighting with them, trying to place more money into the hands of these scammers. So the cybercrime is another area definitely that I think Grenadians need to be very aware of. And if you're unsure of something, ask a question of somebody who you believe would know. Again, you can look on Facebook for Jervis Dabrio. That's Jervis Dabrio. He's very open to helping people, to speaking to people in relation to these things. Because I know of a situation, again, a young lady. She lost a couple $100. Well, and if you're working for a couple $100 and you lose a couple $100, it's like she lost over her salary in 1 month to one of these scammers. And the one of the final things I'll say on this is we have a belief here that it's the Africans alone. I had an instance recently where it's actually a Jamaican. Huh? It's a Jamaican. I copied the thing. They were talking about some vehicles that they were selling vehicles out of Saudi Arabia, and they phoned me. They messaged me really and said, well, you're ready for the vehicle now. We realize you were interested in a vehicle and you're ready for it now, so we're messaging you. And I messaged back. I say, okay, here's what. Don't waste your time. This is the wrong person to try this on. Try somebody else. Let's just not waste time today. And I posted the message on Facebook, only to receive a call from a Jamaican number, thinking it's one of my Jamaican friends. Answer the number, and there was this person saying, hey, take down that post that you put up there. This is Officer so-and-so from the Jamaica Constabulary. You need to take down that post you put up. I said, but how come a post for somebody in Pakistan, was Pakistan the person is supposed to be from Pakistan, suddenly appears in Jamaica? Because there's this ring of people in Jamaica that are doing this as well. So we have to be careful. Sometimes our own Caribbean people doing this to us. So we have to be careful. Indeed. Folks, we're speaking with Brother Nimrod Oliver here. It's now 37 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. Some of you are going to hear that a little later. So it's going to be a little later by the time you hear that with the delay. Nimrod, there's a question that a couple people have posed since we were speaking about the firearms earlier. They're saying Grenada is a country that was flooded with firearms during the revolution. How come during the revolution we didn't have that kind of thing taking place? Even though the entire island, you had children going to school with firearms. They were part of the militia and so on, and they were going to school, pioneers and so. Well, I don't know for the pioneers, I wasn't around. But at least those who were part of the militia were going with firearms. Your views?
Well, for one, even though we were proliferated with guns during the revolution, at one time I think they said there were maybe three weapons here for every man, woman, and child. I don't think there was so much, but the point is there were a lot of weapons. I think as a society, as humans, we were scared, right? We were scared of weapons. Look, I was a police officer for 23 years. I carried a gun pretty much every day of my life in that 23 years. Because I was an undercover guy, and I ended up in a shootout, and so I always carried my weapon with me. after that. Well, even before that, I probably used to carry it most times. But
Brother Nimrod, you really feel Grenadians afraid gun?
I will tell you,
the rest of the
point I
Caribbean
was
say,
making, I made that statement to let you know that even though I was a cop and I had a weapon on me every day, I'm scared of guns still. I'm very scared of guns. I was telling this weekend gone there, I was telling some friend of mine, as a New York City police officer, I could have owned any gun I wanted, any amount of weapon I wanted. For the 23 years I was an active police officer, you know how many weapons I had?
0?
No, well, I had one. I must have my service revolver, right?
Outside of that.
Right, but outside of that, no other weapon. The day I was retiring, I bought myself a second weapon as a gift. I don't even know why. I've never fired it. It's brand new in the box in my safe in New York. I'm living in Grenada and the weapon is in New York in the safe, right? I never fired it, but I said, hey, I'm retiring. Let me get myself a gift. So I went out and I bought a second weapon. But I've worked with guys, and guys used to think, Nimrod, you crazy. Because the average cop would have 2 weapons and then he would always have a backup weapon, right? Even though in uniform, most guys would have a second weapon and them just in case. And I never did. I'd be like, man, I got this weapon here with 15 rounds, 1 in the chamber, and if I can't hit nothing with that, then I'm running for dear life after that, right? I'm not even going to the extra 30 rounds in the magazine. But the point is, to answer your question, I think during the Revo and beyond, and even now, I think I draw the parallel earlier on. You and I, because we know the consequences. So 1, you fear weapon. 2, the real consequences, right? You take a life. You know you're going to jail. Most likely you would go to jail. You have responsibility. You have your family. You have your son. You have your kids, your children. The other point is we didn't have the proliferation of what we seen on the telly, right? And in social media now. So now this whole thing, remember the gun thing is being glorified now, and the whole bad man thing. So you didn't have that between 1979 and 1983. The weapons were there, and the guys that were in charge didn't even have to tell you. And I'm sure guys that were in the army and in the militia that messed around and fooled around with weapons, they were reprimanded. But you didn't have that carelessness with weapons. Grenada does not have a gun manufacturing facility, and yet it's not that difficult to find a gun on the streets here. In the right places. If you look in the right places, it's not. So guys now, they're comfortable because it's being glorified with these rap videos. It's being glorified among their peers. And you know what? I shoot somebody, so what? I get a lawyer. I'm going to get bail. It is what it is. You were not, at least for me, I know you were not processing these things. The first time I touched a weapon, I left Grenada when I was 19 years, right? So I lived through the revolution. I was here for the revo. And the first time I touched a weapon, I was 23 years old when I joined the United States Navy. And I was scared. And I never forget, it was a 45. We had to train on the 45. And I failed the first course. And the guy actually, again, the stereotype, and the instructor asked me, you never hold a weapon? I said, no, and he couldn't believe. He says, you never fired a gun. I'm like, no. But I guess, and it's when I answered, and he probably heard the accent, that's when you are, but a black man in the United States military, come on, and I says, no, I'm from Grenada. Guns is not common down there. But that was the first time when I went to basic training in the U.S. Navy. First time I held a weapon.
Let me ask you this, though. Is it that they had a lot more discipline during that point in time?
Yes.
And that the family structures leading up to that time were much more together, much more strict, that the elders could speak to you. Although during the revolt that kind of break out, but leading up to that point in time, within the minds of the young ones, it was a different mindset among the young people. And dare I say a different level of consciousness during that period of time. And probably among our young people right now, it's a bit of both that we need to bring back, the discipline and the consciousness among our young people that we have right now. Not that we're looking to put guns into the hand or weapons into the hand, but that we try to bring that back a bit into what we're doing with young people right now. Yeah?
Well, yes, I agree with you totally. I think, I alluded to that it was that, that family thing. It was that consciousness. It was that, you wanted to do good, right? Listen, the revolution was the government of the day, and those that participated in it felt the need to, and they did what they had to do. But it was not really, at least in my time, I was 13 years old. I didn't see it as a free for all in terms like bullets being fired every night. And no, after the revolution, maybe 1984, 85, you every now and then periodically you used to hear guys making sure the nozzle works, I guess.
March 13th salute, yeah.
But again, there's no major injury that I can recall. I was 14, 15 years at the time, but I don't recall any so I guess guys used to go in the woods and make sure the thing worked. And I suspect you're going to ask me next if I believe most of these weapons are still around.
I'm pretty sure they're not.
I don't think so. I believe that because there may have been a lot of AK-47, and I believe a lot of guys because remember the in thing, and the younger folks will know that the in thing was to bury these weapons, and I think a lot of guys buried some of these weapons and don't even remember where they buried it. Couldn't find them.
I would tell you what the streets said. The streets have said that a lot of these arms and ammunition ended up in a nearby island in exchange for certain herbs that individuals on this island like to utilize.
Free the weed?
Yeah, so that a lot of the revolutionary armaments ended up in another island further north in exchange for the marijuana. So that's what has been said. Not that there are not one or two probably around, but that is what the streets say. I don't know because you don't know police come and question me at anywhere here on the streets. All right. Yes, indeed. Folks, we have Brother Nimrod Olivier with us. Nimrod, I want to try something tonight. I've never tried to take a call online when I have a guest on with me on Zoom, but I want to try that tonight. So I'm going to open the phone lines. I'm going to open because I know you could handle. So I'm going to open the phone lines, 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. The phone lines are open, folks.
Well, listen, last night how I see my political leader handle himself, it's like he was prepared for every question from Mr. Colin Dowd, and I mean, he did exceptionally well. So I could only hope I follow in his footsteps. So let's go, please.
Yeah, so folks, the phone lines are open. You can call 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. A question coming in here for you, Brother Nimrod. They say, if you believe it's a wise idea to remove an officer who was an undercover officer and then go and place them in uniform. If you think that's a wise thing in a small country like Grenada to do something like that. So you have an officer who was, maybe they worked in a special unit or so. They were in civilian clothes. And then next minute you see that person calling traffic in town.
Right. So again, So it also you have to take into consideration the kind of work that individual did, right? And I believe it's incumbent on the organization to protect all of its officers at all times. So unnecessarily exposing persons, because you may be upset with them or you think they might not be aligned with you politically. I would not subscribe to that. I would not sign off on that. I think you owe it to people that provide exceptional service, plainclothes service. You owe it to them to protect their identity. I out of my 23 years in NYPD, I worked in plainclothes for about 12 years or so, and I was in the vice unit. And when I was in the vice unit, I was deep undercover, so I didn't even exist in the police force. So you lock me up, you bring me in, you run, nothing would come up. right? Each police officer has a identification number. Mine was totally erased. They erased my shield number, they erased my tax number because I was undercover and I was dealing with a lot of the prostitution ring, you know. Some of it was the mob, some of it was organized, and so I was just out there, right? I was just out there. Now, my handlers knew I was a cop, and a couple of times I was arrested and a set, and they would come and get me out. I would stay in the cells with everybody else, and they'll get me out before we go to central booking. But you do have to protect your guys. You know, as you very well know, I travel the world for Carnival, and it's scary when you're in Miami trying to enjoy yourself, and a guy comes up to you and he goes, "What's up, officer?" And you're like, "Oh, you know I'm a cop." He's like, "Man, you locked me up, but I had the feeling. I know your boys locked me up, but I know I made that deal with you, and but don't worry, what beer you drinking?" You know. But for a minute there, you had skips a beat, you know. So I'll share something with you. I'm sure you didn't know I had dreads, right? Did you know I had dreads?
Nah, you was in the family, man.
So my first couple of years in NYPD, I was a dreadlocks cop, right? You learn something tonight.
Mm-hmm. So once again, folks, 440-7377. And one thing I've realized, Nimrod, is that when you're doing a program and people not calling is because they are listening. Not that they don't want to call, they are listening. And they're listening intently. No, I have a group here, and some of them sometimes when I open the phone line on certain things, they say, "Oh, open the phone line for we listening. We want to hear the discussion that's taking place." So what you're opening the phone line
I know you have a couple more questions, so shoot.
Yeah, indeed. Because we've already spoken about the cybercrime side of things, and I think we have a caller online here. Hello, good night.
Good night, Brother Oliver.
Yeah, you're hearing, Brother Oliver?
No, you might have to repeat it. Just repeat it and I'll answer.
For some reason, he's not hearing. Go right ahead, caller.
Yes, saying good night to Mr. Oliver.
You're still not hearing?
I'll listen on the phone. So tell him.
Okay, hold on. But go ahead, caller.
Yes,
hello, good night.
Good talk tonight for the security and the all what happened with the health business there and such like. So I'm just there listening and taking in and.
Okay, so you have no question.
So
okay,
that's it.
All right, thank you. All right. Yeah, Brother Nimrod, the caller didn't have a question per se. They just called to say that they're listening. So they didn't have a question itself. But yeah, folks, let's try it again. 440-7377. Somehow I'm going to see how I can get this to work. Yes, somehow I'm going to see how I can. I've never tried it before, so I'm tempting it tonight to see if this works. So 440-7377. Yes, folks, you can call and you can ask your questions. And I think we only have, it's nearly time to close off, and I didn't even realize that we just have a few minutes remaining.
I won't charge you overtime, so we could keep going. No worries.
Charging me overtime. You gotta come and pick me up and drop me home. So
I gave Rodney the car to go. Rodney has the car.
Folks, we're going to take the calls quickly. 440-7377. If you've got a concern, you'd like to call. And I think we have a caller on the overseas line. Hello, good night.
Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you, Mr. Oliver could answer that. I heard something about ISIS have I don't know if it's a headquarters or they have an address in Grenada. Did you hear about that?
Yes. There is a organization registered in Grenada that is attached to ISIS.
Yes, because that's what I'm hearing outside here.
We will be dealing with that in a broader sense, probably tomorrow night and for the rest of the week. You'll be hearing some more about that.
Yeah, because I hope that's not true.
Well, let's hope that they don't have some of our passports as well.
Well, that's what's scary.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Indeed.
Because, my God, please, I don't want to put Grenada on the blacklist, you know.
I ain't even want to go on the grey one, much less the black.
I'm telling you, man.
Brother Nimrod, you're
Well,
hearing the scholar, though?
I'm hearing him.
Yeah.
I'm hearing him.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope Brother Nimrod could shed some light on that.
Okay.
I don't know where Grenada going, just for dollars. I don't know where we going. Maybe you don't have the money that we're talking about. We have a lot of money, but maybe we don't have money. So anyhow, I'm listening.
All right, brother. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, well, I'm
And
eagerly awaiting to get some more.
Before you go forward, Brother Nimrod, we have another caller online. Hello, good night.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Brother Carter and Brother Nimrod. Good.
You're not hearing this one?
discussion. I really
breaking
enjoyed it. You hit the nail on the head that the reason why we weren't calling because we were listening. But here, listen. I have a concern. Okay. Now you heard me many times making mention of that. That because the way that our leaders, especially the current cast of leaders.
And caller, we'll have to take it quicker because I must be out at 10. 5 minutes
Okay.
I've got, so we have to get to the point.
Right. So the disrespect for those of our leaders, especially the opposition team in the parliament, right, would give rise, would cause the rise for this rebellion, and I mentioned that so many times, rebellion against the people that are in authority. So we are reaping the harvest now, and Ecclesiastes 8:11 says, because the sentence against the evil work is not being done or carried out instantly, the heart of man becomes wicked and continue to be evil. So, that's my point tonight. So I want to encourage our young people, don't give in to the North America, to the neighbor gang situation. Don't give in to those things. All right? Be steady. Come join the music school. Get involved in the music program. All right? God bless you all.
Thank you. Brother Nimrod, question for you that came in via WhatsApp. They want your take on the Cayman 6 issue. As a person who has been involved in promotion and so on before, someone who has been involved yourself in promotion, your view in relation to the artists that they are attempting to bring in to our shores, and advice to young people to protect themselves from such things.
So in all fairness, I only became educated on the artists and some of the music today. All right, prior to that, because these young music, But in watching some of the videos, there is grave concern, and I do believe that while we do have the right for CARICOM free trade and for persons to practice the apply throughout the OECS and the CARICOM nations, I do believe the authorities, they have to exercise some concern and some caution in approving the
permits,
the artists, right? Because it could have a detrimental effect on society. At the end of the day, I was going through, well, do they even have enough security personnel to have enough police officers stationed at that venue? Because if predominantly it's weapons and so are being glorified, I am quite sure potential patrons for that event may feel necessary to
walk with the thing too.
Walk with the tool. You understand? So I do believe that there has to be some more dialogue with the promoters and the police force and see how best that they can come to a solution. I'm not sure if the police might feel they have a right to stop the event outright, prior to having some degrees of dialogue and some assurances and reassurances.
Brother Nimrod, I've got to get out of here. Any final words to the Grenadian people tonight?
Well, again,
and to the people of St. George Northeast.
For the people of St. George Northeast, we are there. We are doing the work. We are mobilizing, and we are getting ready, because we know come next election, the right government, the new National Party, would be returned to office so that we can, unfortunately, we have to rebuild a lot of what they're mashing up now, but we have the necessary persons to rebuild and continue taking Grenada forward, because right now, we ain't doing that thing. But I just want to say, to all of us, don't take the gun thing very lightly, right? Guns is a serious thing. Bullets don't have eyes, right? And it could be any one of us, any given time, at the wrong place at the wrong time. So you see something, say something. I am optimistic that we as a society, we will do the right thing to ensure that Grenada remains very safe for each and every one of us. But we need to be more vocal. The police needs to be more accountable. I think the call up prior to that, Pastor was alluding to that we have to not lose hope and lose faith, and we got to keep our optimism up, right? We have to keep it elevated, and so we will prevail, right? I don't want to say this too is a phase, because it's a phase that we really don't need, because one death would be one death too much. But we need to ensure that beautiful Grenada is a safe place for you, our kids, and our grandkids.
All right. Brother Nimrod Olivier, I'd like to thank you very much for being on with us tonight. Always a pleasure having my good bro on with me, and we're going to be doing this soon again, because we have more things to talk about.
You can call me anytime, because I realize that there's a lot more you wanted to go into, and we didn't get to do it. So
Yeah, of course.
All right. Feel free anytime, man.
All right, bro. Thank you so very much. Folks, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. I got to literally run tonight. So that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you on Talking Points. And of course, in everything you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. My name is Sheldon Scott. I am out.
Mommy! Whoa! Pa-pa-da-pa-da-pa-da. Celebrating 50 years as an independent nation. Such an occasion called for a big celebration. It is when Grenadians show their patriotism. Independence not the time for no damn confusion. If you think I go come here to embarrass the government, or talk about police how they handle crime and accident, I prefer to sing about something nice and dandy. Independence not the time for no damn controversy. I could have said how the country fall down flat. No, it's not the time for that. No Grenadian living like dog and cat. No, it's not the time for that. How certain people riding plane like bus. No, it's not the time for that. And why the hell they put Grenada first? No, it's not the time for that. I'd rather sing something to make everybody happy, cause we celebrated a milestone 50. So let we sing, we back on we feet again. In spite of all the challenges, we back on we feet again. Breaking barriers, building up bridges. If we only unite as one, we could build a stronger nation. So let we sing songs of unification.